It's the effects of blasts like this researchers are hoping to study. 5 houses will be fitted out with analysis equipment to gauge the effect vibrations from mine blasting have on masonry.
We're monitoring the effects of blasting in terms of the accelerations that are induced in the house, and we're also looking at the effects of other external causes to cracking of masonry, because often cracking is produced by things such as foundation movement, temperature effects and things like that.
The engineers are hoping the study will help clear up disputes over blast vibration limits, in turn protecting homes nearby.
In fact, in a lot of cases the cracking may already be there, and so that's the purpose of this work, to clearly establish what actually causes cracking.
The results will be used to develop a methodology or checklist for mining companies and structural researchers to use when investigating complaints and damage claims.
We're hoping to produce some rational design procedures which can be used by building authorities and other regulators and consulting engineers who are perhaps trying to assess damage.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
After a long crusade, Rima FM finally won a permanent broadcasting license. But that's simply of the license, the station must upgrade its transmitter from 4,000 to 10,000 watts.
If we don't do that, well, of course, then we're in breach of that license, and the authorities do have the power to take that license off.
To raise the $85,000 necessary, the station has embarked on Remathon 4. The 3-day radiothon started this morning, taking only 2 hours to top the $10,000 mark. But after all, this is a station with connections.
God has been good to us in the past and has honoured it, and last time we believed a year ago for $60,000, and there was more than $67,000 came in. We have no reason at all to doubt this time.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
For some weeks, the off-field dramas at the Newcastle Breakers have threatened to ruin a club that's just enjoyed its best ever season. Last night it was revealed former owner David Hall had stood down as chairman and won't take any part in the running of the football club, but remains a shareholder of the new owners, True Blue. That was actually thought to have happened some weeks ago. But in any case, Soccer Australia is far from satisfied and has demanded a meeting with Hall and Breakers CEO Maurice McAllister for Monday to check documentation on the alleged exchange. Hall is still to pay the old consortium around $1.3 million, creditors around $120,000, and Soccer Australia a $250,000 licence fee. True Blue say they'll pay it all. Coach Lee Sterry has said he would quit if David Hall had anything to do with the club, and that he'd question the business sense of anyone who would be involved in ownership of the club with him. No one from True Blue would talk on camera today, but did say more details will be released next week, while the club celebrates its presentation night tonight.
Neighbours say Ross Brown found his wife Judith's body just inside the front door of their rented Anna Bay house. He screamed and ran out onto the street, calling for help.
The husband, when he came home, did pick up his wife and was himself covered in blood.
39-year-old Judith Brown had 3 boys under the age of 16. None of them was home when their father arrived.
Your heart really goes out to these little kids that have just lost their mother.
More than 20 police moved in yesterday and worked overnight. While the forensic team investigated the inside of the Clomine Circuit house, others began searching surrounding bushland for any possible clues or a weapon that may have been used in the attack. Police aren't sure how Judy Brown received the head injuries which most likely killed her, and they are building a picture of just what happened. That should become clearer after the post-mortem is completed tomorrow. Police are calling for assistance from anyone who may have seen a person coming or going from the Anna Bay home between 9 a.m. and 3 in the afternoon yesterday. Officers from Strikeforce Repos are also involved in the investigation. The task force was originally set up on May 17 to investigate the double murder of 33-year-old Susan Kay and 37-year-old Joanne Tetron in the Newcastle suburb of Carrington. It was also called to the Mayfield house of Robin Denham, found strangled in her bedroom with a stocking earlier this week.
At this stage, we have no confirmed links with these crimes.
David McElwain, NBN News. The spillage at Delta EMD was dangerous not just from its size, but also its heat.
Ranges of temperature between 90 and 96 degrees Celsius, so instant burns if it gets on your skin, and then the magnesium side creates infection.
The leak was described as electrolytic waste, and it escaped from a broken flange at a rate of 24,000 litres an hour.
And now that electrolyte contains sulphuric acid and magnesium sulphate. Basically it's battery acid.
Firefighters battled to contain the leak from 9:30 last night and had to smash spun walls so they could divert the spill. It took 4 hours to stop the leak, but the fire brigade says none of the acidic waste escaped into the drainage system. Both the EPA and WorkCover have been notified of the spill, and 2 workers injured trying to contain the initial leak are still in the Mater Hospital.
There's no great reason that we believe that the 2 matters are connected at this stage. It's just simply they're assisting us with our inquiries.
With heads furrowed over the racing guide, the Northern Eagles players spared little thought for their loss last night, instead hoping luck would go their way at the Gosford races.
I've backed the last two winners, but they're both pretty sure favourites, so yeah, I'm not going to take too much claim for that.
Nikos have tipped me a couple of tips, very ordinary so far, but hopefully he'll improve. So.
As usual, yeah, pretty bad punter, bad tips this side, no luck there.
Players weren't the only ones having trouble picking a winner.
As good as last night at the moment.
The team's inconsistency demonstrated again last night. It squandered a 2-try lead to give the Roosters the premiership points. Sharp at a loss to stop the team's roller coaster season. The Eagles now sit on 14 points, equal second last on the NRL competition ladder.
There's no magic formula, so we just need to work hard this week at training and prepare well and do our best again next Saturday.
None more disappointed about the game than Steve Menzies, who debuted as captain last night.
I enjoyed it quite a bit, you know. Too bad I couldn't have got a win. I don't know, 0%, that's not too good as captain, but we'll see how we go.
Josh Smith, the only injury concern after the game, he suffered a heavy concussion. Kylie Colvin, NBN News.
The Northern Blues have quickly earned themselves a reputation as tough defenders known for big hits. But when Mixie Louie got amongst things early, the boys from the Bay showed they offer so much more, with Sam Lloyd eventually finishing off for the first. South struggled to get past halfway, and the Blues 5/8 had a field day with a pinpoint pass and a stepping Aidan McElwain making it 10-0. Pinned inside their own half and forced to almost constantly defend, holes began to show and Mark Jones went straight through one of them. South finally got going north with bench player Trevor Ott bringing on a change of luck and the visitors' first try with a bulldozing run. It didn't last long, South finding plenty of space but not enough lines to fill it, and Jamie O'Connor picked it up to make it 22-4. Just 3 tackles after the restart, the boys from the Bay were at it again with another attacking raid on South's line. This time, halfback Jason Manton went over untouched and the match was won at half-time at 28-4. Nonetheless, the Blues added 34 more points after the break. This sees them squeeze into the top 5 for the first time this season, with Premiers West outside after yesterday's loss to Waratah. The Cheetahs sharing top spot with Curry.
fire tore through the Selwyn Street apartment around 6 o'clock this morning. When fire crews arrived, the occupants had already escaped the smoke and flames. They'd been forced to jump from the second-storey window.
They were very lucky to escape the fire due to the fact that the heater was very close to bedding and furnishings.
It's not the first time this winter that fire authorities have had to respond to such calls for help.
But last week alone, we've had 3 instances where the fire brigaders had to attend these heaters being close to bedding.
The latest blaze has prompted a timely warning. They're asking people to think twice when they try to keep warm this winter, and heaters aren't the only appliances capable of producing an end result like this.
Electric blankets, for argument's sake, are only meant to heat the bed. Now, what people do is invariably they leave them on all day, and if they have an animal that's is a housebound animal and it's laying on the bedding, that causes combustion to take effect.
Brooke Webster, NBN News.
$10,000 is the target for 16-year-old Matthew Clark, and he's willing to work for it.
We're actually riding from Lake Eyre. Actually, the first bit's a kayak leg, then we're cycling right up to Mount Kosciuszko, and then walking the last 25 kilometres to the summit.
It's the first time anyone has ventured from the lowest point in the country to the highest peak, and it's only going to take just over 2 weeks. But he won't be alone. Clark is in the company of veteran cyclist Peter Newey, who'll form part of a support crew.
I like covering people, and I just like a challenge.
In training for his 1st of July set-off from Lake Eyre, Clark is now cycling 400 kilometres a week. And there's little doubt in his mind about the benefit of the fundraiser.
I'll do another one, as long as I finish this one.
Adam Harper, NBN News.
It was an economic decision to shut down the BHP's birthplace of steelmaking last September, but it seems that trimming the fat won't stop there. In recent months, the big Australian has made moves to amalgamate 8 of its long product businesses to form one combined integrated steel company. Today it introduced the chairman of One Steel, Peter Smedley.
The role in the next several weeks will be to put that board together and then look at making sure that the board going forward has the corporate governance issues first and foremost in its mind to ensure that future shareholders in this company are well looked after.
Specialising in manufacturing, distribution and production, One Steel will be listed on the stock exchange by the end of this year, with Newcastle to be the headquarters of its market mills. At this stage, there are no moves to shed jobs from the 2,000-strong local workforce, which incorporates the rod and bar mill, rope and wire works.
There's no plan at this stage for wholesale cuts or dramatic changes at this point. Whatever changes occur would be something we plan to do in consultation with our people.
The company says it's not looking at attracting a single large shareholder during the spin-out process, but rather several investors.
Winners are grinners, and with the Knights in second spot on the ladder, there is plenty for them to smile about. Chancing his arm today, it was yesterday that halfback Justin Holbrook proved a real hit.
I had to, especially when we were in trouble at half time. It wasn't looking good.
When Newcastle was down 22-4, Holbrook sparked the comeback, setting up Daniel Abrahams for the first of his 2 tries. With Matthew Johns off injured, Holbrook also had a hand in Billy Peaton grabbing a double, while a towering kick brought down the match winner. All this after he'd been dropped to the First Division bench just weeks before.
6 weeks ago I was gone. I was struggling and wasn't playing well, wasn't enjoying my footy, and now I turned things around, and I'm really enjoying it.
Frustrated is a better way to describe winger Darren Albert, kept out with an ongoing foot injury.
The doctor said to me that if I broke it again and I broke the pin, then it would probably nearly cost me my career. So, I'm not looking forward to that, and I'm not going to push it to try and come back any sooner than what I really have to.
Matthew Johns' playing future will be clearer tomorrow when he sees a specialist after tearing a calf muscle yesterday. Meanwhile, Clinton O'Brien will escape suspension for this careless tackle on Brad Myers if he submits an early plea. Brisbane rookie Carl Webb isn't as lucky. He faces up to 3 weeks on the sideline for a dangerous throw after upending Paul Rahihi. Jim Callanan, NBN News. The Six Nation Pacific Cup soccer tournament is structured to closely reflect how the Sydney Olympics will be contested, with games moving around several cities. And several of the Matildas are happy that Newcastle was included, with players like defenders Bridget Starr and Cheryl Salisbury from the region. Likewise, striker Sonny Hughes.
It's my dream to play in front of a home crowd. I haven't played here since we played New Zealand back in '98.
Australia won that clash and hope to repeat the effort again tomorrow, especially after a surprise loss to Canada on Sunday.
And we got brought back down to earth against Canada, so we've got a lot of revenge and we want to get off to a good game against New Zealand.
After years playing in Denmark, Alison Foreman has returned permanently to skipper the now professional Matildas, and after growing up in nearby Raymond Terrace, she's keen to cap her 59th Australian match on local soil. But with the Pacific Cup geared to get sides ready for Sydney 2000, it's hard not to think about the Olympics.
We already know from today that we're going to be in the opening ceremony, so I can't even explain what that's going to be like, but I can't wait till that happens.
The match kicks off at Glendale Regional Athletics Centre tomorrow at 3 o'clock, with a game against the world number 1, the USA, on Sunday.
When a man was hit by a car in Branxton's main street 2 weeks ago, it took 27 minutes for an ambulance to arrive from the nearest station in Rutherford. Luckily, he didn't go into cardiac arrest. He would have been dead by the time help arrived. But there are 2 defibrillators in Branxton, one located at the local fire station, the other in Kim Collison's linen closet. Kim was heavily involved in the fundraising of $10,000 needed to buy the 2 heart starters. Neither can be used by local firemen who are medically trained to use them because a memorandum of understanding between the ambulance and fire services prohibits any convergence of duties.
The fire brigade can actually use the defibrillators in case of an emergency. If they're called out to an accident, they're already on site, and if somebody does need help, then they can help them.
Branxton's only policeman agrees.
I believe most of them are trained to use a defibrillator, and if they can be called out and use a defibrillator, that'd be good.
The ambulance service says the heart starter should only be used by trained people, although it appears a simple device.
My 11-year-old son can actually work it, so it's very easy.
The irony is it's acceptable for a local fireman to use the heart starters if he's not in uniform, as he won't be formally representing the brigade and therefore not breaching the memo. Ambulance representatives did not return NBN's calls. It's understood the 2 services are still in negotiations. Catherine Turner, NBN News.
More than 1,000 workers took up the fight for better wage conditions at Beresfield this morning. The contingent, which included maintenance workers to processors, all pursuing a new enterprise bargaining agreement before it lapses next month.
The negotiation position is to continue the negotiations that have been happening or occurring since February this year.
Workers have rejected the latest pay offer, believed to be around the 3% mark. The union is hoping the new agreement will return several benefits, including more flexible leave conditions and increases in pay for productivity improvements. They meet with new owners Barter Enterprises, who've drafted their own wage agreement in the Industrial Relations Commission tomorrow.
We would hope that the Commission echoes our sentiments. We would hope that the company does enter into negotiations that are meaningful and constructive, and that from this point we can reach a swift settlement.
In any war, there's casualties, and unfortunately the Knights' Ben Kennedy didn't see out Origin 3, an awkward landing after a big hit on Martin Lang, earning him a stint on the sideline and forcing Warren Ryan into a reshuffle.
It didn't do me any good watching the game, seeing him injured and taken off the field, but the other three are going to play.
Fortunately though, the rest of the Knights had plenty to smile about last night. Adam McDougall was at his rampaging best and managed to keep arch-rival Wendell Saylor under control.
It's obviously every individual's goal to go out there and get over the top of their opposite number, and I thought last night I did that once again. So, you know, all in all, it's been a pretty good Origin series for me, and I can't complain about the way I performed.
Andrew Johns was also typically brilliant in defence and attack, scoring a second-half try after only being on the field for 45 seconds. Matthew Gidley, meanwhile, had a memorable Origin debut, scoring 2 tries and having 2 called back.
I thought one of them might have been passable, the other one was probably a bit dodgy, but you know, I'm happy to get 2 anyway, I'm not complaining.
But while the pressure has eased a little for the Knights' Origin stars, it's still on teammate Sean Rudder, who faces the tall task of filling in for Matthew Johns on Sunday.
I'm a little bit more excited about this game because I'm not coming off the bench and I'm starting in a pretty important position, so it should be good.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Police have refused to reveal their suspects or even how many people they have spoken to about the deaths of 33-year-old Susan Kay and 37-year-old Joanne Tetrin. Until now, they have not been able to properly test alibis because the time of death has not been known. Now they say the murders were committed on Thursday the 11th of May, between 8 in the morning and 1 o'clock, 6 days before the 2 women's bodies were found. Police know Susan Kay went shopping at 2 a.m. on the morning of the 11th in Bilo Supermarket at Market Town. The time shown on this video footage has not been changed from daylight saving time.
We're hoping that the compression of the times and the identification of a date will generate more information from members of the public who may now be able to search their memories and identify if they saw those people or went to the house on that date.
Police have issued nothing new on the murder of Judith Brown at Anna Bay a week ago, but it is believed they did attend the funeral of Robin Denham, the 51-year-old strangled with a stocking at Mayfield on May the 30th.
Canada had already beaten Australia and China in this tournament, and lowly ranked Japan offered little resistance early. Another till Savannah Bertini minutes later had Canada firmly in command. Giving away penalty kicks didn't help Japan's cause, Christine Latham hitting home another. Japan knocked home a consolation goal, but nothing could stop a 4-goal whitewash by the Canadians. The famous Acropolis Rally in Greece has claimed some big-name drivers after the first day, but Lake Macquarie's Michael Guest is still well in contention in the two-wheel drive 2-litre class. It's known as one of the toughest events on the World Rally circuit, and Guest quickly found out why, with searing 40-degree temperatures adding to tyre woes, which saw him finish third after leg one.
It's probably one position down on what I would have liked to have been, but we had a bad tyre choice for the first 3 stages today, and that cost us a lot of time.
And on Lake Macquarie, the start of the annual June long weekend Powerboat Carnival. Juniors race today, with 3 big cups on offer tomorrow for the seniors, including the Ken Waggett Memorial and Alan Hatherall trophies.
June 7, 1998. A 14-year-old boy steals a BMW, is chased by police, runs a red light and collides with another car. 2 young professionals, Marianne Cameron and Andrew Loschek, are killed. The teenager is sentenced to a minimum term of 3 years and 3 months. Andrew Loschek's mother fears he may be out before that.
The day after the anniversary of our son's death, we get a letter saying he's up for review for day leave to an approved adult.
Irene Loschek says she has written to the Department of Juvenile Justice asking how the offender can be considered for day and overnight release from August 7 when he is facing assault charges from his time in custody. The original sentencing court also added 2 years and 9 months parole if the juvenile is set free at the end of his minimum term. Mrs. Loschek wants to know the point of parole if the juvenile gets periodic release and exactly who will supervise him when he's not in jail.